16 assists, 30 game weeks gone, leading numerous creative metrics in the Premier League and on pace to break a record that stood for 23 years. Bruno Fernandes is on course for the greatest creative season in Premier League history, and yet the narrative says the PFA award should go to an Arsenal player, Declan Rice, Gabriel, someone from the title-winning side, because that's how it works, right? The player of the season has to come from the best team, or does it?
Golden brown, texture like sun, lays me down with my mind she runs.
The argument against Bruno winning Player of the Year this season seems to be simple. Arsenal are going to win the league, therefore it needs to go to an Arsenal player. On the face of things, kind of makes sense, right? If the award typically goes to the most impactful player from the league champions, then I can't argue with that. But do a little digging, and you'll find something that might surprise you. Since the inception of the Premier League in 1992, of the 33 winners of the Premier League Player of the Year award, 16 of them, that's nearly half, won it without winning the title that season. And 21% of them didn't even finish in the top 2. So this narrative being pushed that you need to be on the title winning team, it's just not true. Never has been. But before we dive into why Bruno is easily the most deserving candidate this season, let me give you fair warning. Every time that you think there can't possibly be another impressive Bruno stat, another one pops up. You'll see. Now let's talk about precedent. Because if you're going to make the argument that Bruno can't win because United aren't winning the league, then there's an elephant in the room. Well, 16 elephants in fact. And there's not a good argument for why a single one of them is more deserving than Bruno. Paul McGrath for Villa in 93, Les Ferdinand for Newcastle in 96, Alan Shearer, also at Newcastle the following year, David Ginola at Tottenham in 99, and we'll return to him, Henry for Arsenal in 2003, Steven Gerrard at Liverpool in 06, Rooney at United in 2010, Gareth Bale twice for Spurs in 2011 and 13, Van Persie for Arsenal in 2012, Luis Suarez in 2014, Mo Salah in 2018, Van Dijk in 2019, and Kevin De Bruyne at City in 2020, and Salah once again in 2022. That's the list. And one of these wins was so egregious that it bothered Fergie for the rest of his career. Which one and why? Well, in 1999, Ginola won both the PFA and Football Writers Awards for that season, the 98-99 season, the season that United won the treble. The treble. Beckham was literally the best player in Europe. Not England though. No, that was David Ginola. The same Ginola who played 30 league games, scored 3 goals, got 10 assists, and Spurs finished 11th, 6 points off the relegation zone. And he beat Beckham, who in the league scored double the goals Ginola managed, assisted a few more, and scored on the final day of the season to secure United the title. And if you're looking for even more impressive league numbers than that, Dwight York, who also won the treble that year, contributed 18 goals and 11 assists. That's 15 more than Ginola. So if Ginola can win in those circumstances, finishing mid-table with modest numbers, while United won everything, what exactly is the argument against Bruno, who looks set to finish 3rd, while Arsenal are on their way to what has been labelled as one of the worst title wins of all time? Just saying. Before we get talking about the specifics of the case for Bruno, I have additional precedent for you, a more modern, even more specific precedent, one that's almost eerie in how it perfectly mirrors the Bruno situation. The 2019-20 season, the title race was practically over by Christmas. Liverpool won the league. Well, sort of. That was COVID season, so we don't really acknowledge that, do we? Anyway, who do you think won Player of the Season? Probably Salah or Mane, right? The forwards who fired Liverpool to the title before Christmas. Wrong. Salah scored 19 league goals that season. Mane managed 18. For context, that's 5 fewer than Danny Ings scored for Southampton in Salah's case. And Mane only scored 1 more than Rashford or Martial. Or maybe it went to Jamie Vardy then. He scored 23 goals and won the Golden Boot. Nope. Enough guessing? It went to De Bruyne. Do you know what De Bruyne did that season? He levelled Henry's assist record with 20 assists. And although the chasing pack was still pretty far behind him, they were much closer to De Bruyne than anyone is to Bruno right now. Let me get this straight. Just 6 years ago, a team had a dominant title win, but none of their forwards were leading the way for goals scored, so a midfielder who stood out creatively was awarded Player of the Year. And the vote does take place before the end of the season though, so they couldn't have known that he would equal the record, just that he had a chance of doing so. And that's where it gets really interesting. De Bruyne sat on 16 assists after 30 Premier League game weeks that season. The exact same number that Bruno sits on right now after the exact same number of game weeks. Which brings us to what Bruno is actually doing this season. Bruno's got 16 assists with 8 games remaining. He's averaging 0.59 assists per 90 minutes, which means if he continues at his current rate, he'll equal Henry and De Bruyne's record, and if he maintains his recent form, he'll break it, a record that has stood for 23 years. And Bruno's in the habit of breaking records at the moment. He recently surpassed David Beckham's 15 assists to become United's highest assister in a single Premier League season, a record that Beckham has held since the 99-2000 season, a quarter of a century ago. And Bruno also reached 100 goals and assists for United in fewer games than Messi and Ronaldo did for Barca and Madrid respectively. That is a bonkers stat. In what has been one of the most inconsistent United teams of our lifetime over these last 6 years. It is mad. Anyway, back to this season. The assist record is no doubt the cornerstone of any argument for Bruno to get the PFA award, but it's not the only thing. Let's look at what he's doing compared to every other midfielder in the Premier League. Long passes completed, top. Progressive passes completed, top. Accurate passes to the final third, top. Assists, top. Chances created, top. Chances created from open play, top. Expected assists, top. Passes played into the box, top. Key passes, top. Progressive actions, top. Yeah, you get the picture. He's not just leading in one or two categories, he is dominating across the board creatively. Arsenal fans have been trying to diminish this by saying only 7 of his 16 assists have come from open play. He's a set-piece merchant. Ignoring the obvious hypocrisy of that for 2 seconds, Bruno ranks first for chances created from open play. It really takes the wind out of their sails in that argument. Out of the 527 players who have played in the Premier League this season, 524 of them don't even have 7 assists from any situation. And when we talk about big chances created in open play specifically, Bruno has created 19. The next best? Ryan Cherki with 12. Then Doku, Neto and Rodgers all tied with 10. Bruno's in a different stratosphere to the next best in the Prem. So let's look outside the Prem, just out of curiosity. He's created the most chances in Europe's top 5 leagues this season, 96 chances in total. Second place has created 14 fewer chances, and he's creating quality in quantity. He ranks second for big chances created in Europe's top 5 leagues with 24, just 1 behind first place. And his 16 assists that lead the Premier League, it ranks second in all of Europe's top 5 leagues, just 1 off the top spot. There isn't another Premier League player in the top 10. Let's continue and talk about impact, because creating chances is one thing, but winning points is actually what matters. Now, Bruno's 16 assists have won United 18 points this season. That is the most by any player for a single team in a single campaign in the history of the Premier League. Impressed? Let's keep going. Let's look at both his goals and assists combined, because that's worth 25 points for United. All won by Bruno this season. You know who else won 25 points for United in a season? Ballon d'Or winning, PFA winning, Football Writers Awards winning, Player of the Year, Cristiano Ronaldo in the 2007-8 double season. He's matched 08 Ronaldo, except Bruno's done it in 7 fewer matches. In fact, in the entire history of the Premier League, only 2 players have won more points for United in a single season. Van Persie in 2012-13 with 38 points, and Eric Cantona in 93-94 with 26 points. It's almost a certainty that by the end of the season, Bruno would have proven himself statistically more important to this United side than Ronaldo was to that 07-8 side. Mental. Now, I know that some people are saying Bruno hasn't been good all season. He's only performed for a few months since Ruben Amorim left and Carrick came in. Now, there's no doubt that Bruno's been performing better in the number 10 role. Surprise, surprise. But it doesn't mean that he was performing badly prior to that. Just check the numbers. Under Amorim this season, 7 assists, 51 chances created. Under Carrick, 8 assists, 42 chances created. Numbers are pretty consistent. The fact is, Bruno has been performing well and has been crucial for United all season long. And if anything, Bruno's season is only made more impressive by the first half of it, when he was playing as a deeper midfielder who often picked the ball up directly from the centre-backs in his own half. Think about it. He put up these potentially record-breaking creative numbers while spending half the season in a deeper role he'd never played before. So rather than just coming into form recently, consistency has actually been the key for him. Let's talk more about that consistency though. Bruno has created 5 or more chances in a single Premier League game this season 6 times. The next best, Cherki and Longstaff, both have just done it twice. He's even been nominated for the Premier League Player of the Match Week 5 times this season, 3 times more than any other player. I've given you a lot here, and a lot of arguments, and there is no single more legitimate candidate for the Player of the Year than Bruno Fernandes. No one. The argument that it has to go to an Arsenal player because they're winning the league is false. I've just proven it to you. History proves it. 16 previous winners prove it. Ginola winning it for mid-table Spurs when United won the treble. De Bruyne winning it 6 years ago in an almost identical circumstance. If Bruno breaks the assist record, he's on pace to do it. The case is surely closed. Even if he doesn't, the precedent for a win is already clear for all to see. When De Bruyne was sat on 16 assists with 8 games to play, he won Player of the Year and went on to equal the record. Now Bruno sits on 16 assists with 8 games to play in a season where Arsenal look likely to win the league. The only difference? The narrative people want to believe. But the numbers don't lie, the history doesn't lie. When you look back at what Bruno has accomplished this season, breaking quarter-century-old records, leading almost every creative metric in the league, ranked among the best across Europe's top 5 leagues, and doing it all while playing half season out of position, there's only one conclusion that makes sense. Bruno Fernandes is the rightful 2025-26 PFA Player of the Year, whether people want to admit it or not.
To distant lands, takes both my hands, never a frown with golden brown.